So the good news is as we are growing our personal brands is that the platforms a lot of the times the social media platforms where we post usually tell us exactly what they want more of. And in this video what we're going to do is look at what LinkedIn is saying that they want more of. And this is based on a LinkedIn newsletter article that was published earlier today. And they're literally telling business owners, creators, whoever is posting on LinkedIn, what it is that you should be doubling down on. If you're listening to me for the first time, my name is Shanae Murray. I have almost 1 million followers on LinkedIn, over 267,000 LinkedIn newsletter subscribers. And within the last 3 years, I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs grow their personal brands on LinkedIn, specifically through a content strategy and specifically through and with the goal of attracting better clients. So we're not chasing, we're not doing DMs, we are not focused on outbound acquisition. We are focused on attraction, so inbound acquisition. In this video, like I said, let's look at what LinkedIn is saying that they want more of and what it should mean to you if you're a business owner that's building your personal brand on LinkedIn, whether you're just starting or whether you are continuing to build and be present on the platform. And if you are a business owner, I want you to share what it is that you are a business owner in. What type of business do you have? What type of service do you provide? Share it in the comments and I'll connect with you. So I'm going to share my screen here and let's review the article. So as you can see here, this was published earlier today and it says, become a voice people trust. This is a LinkedIn official newsletter. So it's called Create Possibilities and it's under LinkedIn's official LinkedIn Guide to Creating page. Usually this page shares insightful tips for creators on LinkedIn. So it says, if you want to be seen as a trusted voice in your field, your content should do more than fill space. It should show people how you think, what you've learned, and why they can count on you. Authority is not about sounding impressive. It is about being consistent, clear, and useful. When your content reflects what you genuinely know and believe, people start to recognize the value you bring. That is how trust is built. You don't need a fancy title or years of experience to create that impact. What matters most is showing up with purpose and sharing insights that help others think differently or take action. This is critical. So help others think differently or take action. Now, why is this critical? And I talk about this a lot in my other trainings. If I watch one creator, let's talk about this for a second. If I watch one creator and I think that their content is funny, that's a certain value, or I think that it's deep, but I really do nothing with it, that's a certain value. Compared to another creator that I find that their content is clear, I take action on their content, and their content helps me get a certain result. That creator's impact in my life and the experiences that I'm now able to have because of them and the number of times that I associate them with those experiences is compounded. So let's say someone like Gary Vee or Alex Hormozi, I will listen to what they say, I will go implement. If and when I have a positive experience from that action and that implementation, I associate that positive experience with their brand. And that is something that you want to achieve. The more positive associations someone has with your personal brand or whatever it is that you say you do, your business brand, whatever it is that you're building, the better. You don't just want someone to consume your content and not do anything with it, because then those positive associations or those experiences, those emotional experiences tied with those associations, they won't be sticky enough. You'll just be someone on the feed. And this is even more critical as there's going to be AI influencers and more AI agents that are on the internet, and people are probably going to want to focus more on a few influencers that they really love versus following maybe hundreds or thousands and scrolling for hours upon hours. So you build that stickiness through your content being useful and to your content leading to an actual change in perspective, challenging their thought, or doing something that will actually change their life. That makes sense. Put yes in the chat. And so, for example, I have a ton of free videos. I can't tell you how many hundreds of connection requests and comments that I will get saying, hey, I launched my LinkedIn newsletter, and because I launched it, I now have 100 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers, 800 subscribers, whatever. And now that association, that action is associated with my brand. And it's a positive one, and it's a win. So you want more of those. And that's only possible if you really explain it very easily like a guide. Okay. This is also something that a lot of people miss out on. If I read or watch your content, I should know what to do next, and I should know how to do it. So this month is about helping you strengthen your presence by focusing on your experience, your voice, and your perspective. Let's look at how to turn all that into content that builds trust and credibility over time. And this is really understand that the goal, the outcome and the goal and the byproduct of personal branding done correctly is you're scaling trust over time. So not only are you compounding it, but you're also scaling. And that just makes business a lot easier. If 10,000 people, or if you earn 10,000 times the trust that you currently have, it would be a lot easier for people to come to you, ask for help, buy your products, stay a client, so on and so forth. A lot of the times, the resistance is really just lack of trust. Okay, so how to build authority through content. Credibility isn't built in one post. It grows through consistent, thoughtful content that helps others see the way you think and what you stand for. If you want to become a voice people trust, here are a few ways to start showing your authority through what you share. Lead with useful insights. The key word here is useful. Share what you've learned through experience. Practical takeaways show your audience that you're not just informed, you're invested in helping them grow. So I'm going to first focus on this. So it says, lead with useful insights. Share what you've learned through experience. So the first question that you should be asking yourself is, what would be useful to my audience? What would be useful for them to learn? What would be useful for them to know at this juncture, based on my experience in the last month, based on my experience in the last year, based on my experience in the last 4 years? So when I think that's the first place that you should start, because the more useful it is for your audience, then it could kind of guide you to figure out, okay, based on what it is that I'm answering, then I know what to share. So for example, if I ask myself that question, what is going to be most useful for my audience? For them to learn based on what I know, based on the interest, based on the signals that I'm getting, based on the data, which will be the last step here. One of the things for them to know is live video. So what I should do is I should compile some of the insights that I've learned over 3-4 years of doing live video, and I should share a post on it. At least I should do a series of posts. What I have learned after hosting 200 something webinars in the past 3 years. Here's what to do. Here's what not to do. I could do a whole guide on that. I could do the same with LinkedIn live video events. What I have learned hosting XYZ number of LinkedIn live video events. What I have learned after hosting 20 lives on YouTube. You see how this works? Who will that resonate with? That will resonate with people who want to start to master live video, whether that's on LinkedIn, whether that's on a Zoom, like a private webinar, whether that's on YouTube, so on and so forth. And what I'm doing, if I really laid it out, is I'm saving them hundreds and hundreds of hours of time and very embarrassing and or very costly mistakes in the long run. You see what I'm saying? So always start with who it is that you're serving. Another thing, like on YouTube, I may lean more towards AI stuff. So when I'm doing the research, it's not just about finding what's the most, newsworthy or the most abrupt thing when it comes to AI, but I really think about how will this be useful to my audience? Or if I'm looking at 5 different updates, I'm going to look at which one is the most useful. So for example, last week, there was Google VO3 with the videos. There's a bunch of new video generators, but just when it comes to AI and Sora, VO3 video generation, my audience doesn't really lean towards that. Then there was Manus Slides, which basically is able to create presentations and slide decks from an outline. I'm going to always put my audience first. So even though the video may be fun for me, the presentations are more useful. They do a lot more presentations. They onboard clients. They do webinars. They do live video events. They do, they have slides for courses. The utility of learning how to do the slides with AI is much higher for my audience. So I'm going to lean towards that. This is very important because I feel like people just share what they want to share, which is great. But I know this master YouTube coach, which basically his saying goes, if you're just going to create content for you, then don't expect more than one view. And I love that saying because it's true. We're here to serve our audience. And I think thinking of them first is always a win. Okay, so think of your audience first. What do they want to learn? What will help them the most? And then go from there. Now tell us stories that highlight your approach. A specific moment or challenge can say more about your expertise than a list of accomplishments. Stories help people understand how you think and why it matters. So this is very important. When you think about what story to tell, you always want to think about what story is going to be the most useful for your audience, right? And going back to learning live video, let's say that somebody wants to learn how to go live on LinkedIn, or they've tried it before and they had a tech issue. One of the stories that I could tell is when one of my clients almost gave up after having a tech issue. It was a Saturday. I was at a baby shower. She called me. We resolved the tech issue. She did the live video anyway and fought through the potential tears. And at the end of the day, she was extremely proud of herself. She learned from the tech issue and we moved and proceeded to the next live. This would be an important story for me to tell because so many people give up if they experience just one technical glitch, right? And if you give up after just one technical glitch, then everyone would give up because I still even experience technical glitches today. It also highlights the not so pretty side of content creation, being a business owner and doing things like live video events. You know, you can send thousands of invites leading up to a video event and that one technical glitch could put everything awry. But in those hard moments, especially if you have someone on your side that's been through this type of stuff before, you're able to grow through it instead of letting it define you and then just giving up. So that would be a very valuable lesson and a very valuable story for me to share. Now, the one thing that I do want to highlight here is that the stories should be true. I don't believe in making up stories, at least, that's how my ethics, I'm not going to make up a story for views like many people do. So make sure that the story is true, make sure that the story is useful, and you can leverage client stories without even revealing their name, without revealing any of their personal information. And that also proves credibility too, because it proves that I helped this person over here with this. And so if you want to avoid that pain, or if you have experienced it and never want to experience it again, I can help you with that too. All right. Another thing that I could share is, how I figured out my webinar presentation and the mindset that I was able to get into to approach that journey. And it really started with understanding that, well, you can only change one thing at a time. So if I can only change one thing at a time to really learn what works, I don't want to do a webinar just every month because it's going to take me a bajillion years to find the right presentation. So what I did was I went on a journey, an 18-month journey of doing 2 webinars a week for 18 months. Each presentation was over 2 hours. If you know what one webinar takes, it's insane to think that I did this for 2 webinars a week, but I was able to master my presentation faster, master the skill set faster, And it's probably one of the most profitable decisions that I've been able to make for my business. So I could go into that. I could go into how hard it was. I could go into the sacrifice that I made to do it. But also, the main lesson here is that sometimes you can compress mastery with a lot of repetition and with just handling a lot of pressure within a short period of time. And sometimes that short period is over a year, right? So I could go into that. So the real thing to notice here is like, which stories are you going to share, because they should eventually lead to a relevant lesson for your audience. If I told you a story about how I grabbed a burrito on a Saturday morning, like, yeah, okay, you may think that's cool, but it has nothing to do with my approach. It has nothing to do with what makes my coaching methodology unique or how it is that I help clients. And so, although it could be entertaining, the utility of it outside of entertainment is very low. The next thing is respond to what people are paying attention to. This is very important. Join the conversations already happening in your space. When you share a thoughtful take on trending topics, it shows you're active, informed, and willing to contribute. So there's two main ways to do this on LinkedIn. The first way to do this is to look at LinkedIn News, okay? LinkedIn News, when you log in, let me show you. Okay. So going back, there's two ways to do this. The first way is to look at LinkedIn News. The second way to do this is something that they mentioned in the description very briefly called Trends. Trends is something new with the video beta feature that I will show you in this presentation. I will also have an upcoming YouTube video on this in depth, and we'll get to that. If you currently have seen, so if you log into your LinkedIn app and you have clicked the video icon at the bottom and you have seen the trends feature, put trends in the chat. I want to know who's aware of that. But a way that you could start staying on top of relevant news today, leveraging LinkedIn in general, is LinkedIn News. So when you log into your profile and you're looking at your feed, you'll see up here it says LinkedIn News. And then you can click on any one that you kind of see. So Disney cuts hundreds of jobs, job openings rise. Temu, Ford, nuclear energy, OECD warns of major US, whatever. If I click this, Disney cuts hundreds of jobs, what I see here are the top perspectives. So I could start to comment on these top perspectives, or I could repost one of them and then share my perspective. Or what I could do is just create a post sharing my own perspective about this. So I could click share, I could click repost to feed, and then I could share what it is that I believe about this perspective here. You see? A cool way to connect with some people with topics that you find really interesting or that are relevant to you is you could comment here, wait till they reply, and then send them a connection request, or just I could read what she says. If I find what she says is interesting, I could say, hey, Vonti, I saw what you shared on the Disney, laying off thousands of people. I really appreciate that. Let's connect, right? So there are ways, and this will actually grow. And you see here that there's more people adding their perspective. Do we see that? And this also updates, by the way, probably 10 times a day. So whenever you see something really relevant to your industry, relevant to your experience, relevant to your knowledge, that's when you want to, chime in. It's live, Vicky. I just responded to you. It's just that I can't see the comments. What's your question? Yeah, when I'm focused on the screen, I usually do Q&A at the end. So whatever questions you have, start to put them in the comments. Now, when you click here, let me bring this up. When you click your LinkedIn profile, Like when you click video down at the bottom there, when you go into your LinkedIn app, okay? At the top left, you'll see like an icon with a bunch of different squares. So you see suggested, and then you see like that icon with the squares. When you click those squares, you're going to see a bunch of different trending topics. So like this is sports, this is PTO, this is level up, and you could scroll industry updates, your networking game, salary negotiation, do's and don'ts, 5 to 9 before 9 to 5, salary transparency. So there's so many that you could chime in. And then all you have to do, let's say that I wanted to talk about summer travel tips, right? I could click add. You see add right there. And then when I click add, it's going to bring me to a screen with a like gray camera icon, a square camera. And then all I have to do is click that camera and it will bring me to my camera. So then I could record what my summer travel tips are for entrepreneurs, especially for creators. Like one of the things that I would say is to have a microphone that could just, sit on a stand instead of a boom arm like this. Because as you travel to hotels or Airbnbs, you don't know if they have the right kind of setup for you to set up your microphone. And that's just one tip, right? I'd probably even say to have a lappier microphone, lapel mic. So there you go. And then you would just post it. It goes to the regular posting screen, but you should do at least one of these a week. So LinkedIn wants more people hopping on these trends. You could find the trends by clicking on the video icon in your mobile app and then, perusing through. All right, let's go to the next one. And I'll be doing a video specifically on trends coming up. Build consistency over time. You don't need to post every day, but it helps to show up regularly around a few core themes. This makes your perspective more memorable and easier to trust. So when it comes to consistency, I would recommend every day just because it will help you master the art of posting and it would actually provide data within a compressed amount of time. So if one person posts twice a week, they're going to get 8 points of data in a month versus someone who posts every single day, they're going to get 30 points of data in a month and they're going to learn a lot faster on what to double down on, what it is that their audience resonates with. Because for about every 5 posts, there should be an outlier. So if you only do 8, there may be 1 outlier and you're just really cracking the data. You're just starting to see what it is, one thing that you should double down on, one medium, one topic, whatever. Versus if you do 30, you should see a good 3 to 4 starting to surface. And that should get even, that should be kind of doubled down on in the second month and the third month. So just understand that consistency really comes down to how fast do you want to master this skill and how often do you want to be thought of, how often do you want to be useful to your audience, and also how fast do you want to learn what you should double down on. The faster that you want results, the more consistent you should become. Now, there is a point where you can't be more consistent and the lever of growth really becomes quality. So if somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I post 3 times a day, I've done it for 90 days, I can't break through this plateau. The thing that's going to be a huge point of growth for them is not necessarily posting more, but increasing the effort towards each post or increasing the quality of each post. But most people don't even get there. I'd say maybe 2% or 1% even get to the point where they're self-disciplined enough, where they organize their operations enough, and where they really look at this as a priority enough to post every single day for the first 30 days. And even less than that can maintain it over time. So that's good news to you if you're serious about it, because most of your competition will fall off if they even start at all. Okay. And then let's look at the next point. So expand on what is already working. Look at what's resonated in the past and find ways to go deeper. Turn a popular post into a video or use it as the start of a newsletter series to reinforce the message. So this is huge. I was actually sitting with a client, a new client. She's new, but she's been a client before, so kind of new, who, like, she was showing me her whole content strategy and what they built last year and how they had a system to repurpose the content. The problem with doing that automatically with repurposing every post is that not every post is a winner, right? Naturally, you're going to learn what gets you the result that you are looking to get. And then those posts, probably the top 10%, top 20%, should be in the repurposable or the repurpose category, but not every post should. So there's an art to knowing how to look at the data, what to double down on, what to potentially repurpose. Because again, you don't want to repurpose everything. You want to repurpose the things that work. Now, how do you know something works? It really depends on your goal. So what's your one goal on LinkedIn that you want to achieve within the next 90 days? And that really depends on your business, and it's a personal kind of thing. Who is it that you are looking to attract? Which we are going to learn that there have been some updated analytics so we could see who's looking at the post. And then where is it that you're leading them to? What's the one place that you're leading them to? Ideally off of the platform, but even if you don't have a website or anything, it could just be message me for a consultation, whatever. So you want to double down on the posts that fulfill, those categories, because if not, then by definition, they weren't really effective. And that's an art in and of itself. So going back to double down on what's working, looking at your analytics, looking at your back-end analytics, doubling down on everything that's moving the needle for your business that you find it is working. But, let's say a post does really well. You could turn that one into a newsletter. You could use it as a script for a video, but only do that for the top 10 to 20%. Now, they also have a section here of like new stuff. So what's new? We're rolling out 3 new post analytics to help you better understand how your content is landing. These updates make it easier to spot what's driving attention, growing your audience, and prompting action. So the first thing is profile viewers from this post, follower gains from this post, and premium custom button interactions. This is going to be really awesome, specifically the profile viewers and the custom button interactions. Of course, the custom button interactions, I would say, are going to be more valuable if you have a landing page, or if you're trying to build your email list, or if you have a website outside of LinkedIn, because it could be an indicator of the traffic that's leading to that place. But it could even be potentially beneficial, even if you're just leading them to your LinkedIn newsletter inside of LinkedIn. This is also a huge indication of resonance. So there's a difference between somebody that gets 10,000 views on a post and 10 people from that post will click on their profile, versus someone that gets 10,000 views on a post and 100 people from that post click on their profile, right? What's the difference? The difference is that it was compelling enough, it sparked curiosity enough, it just led to that catalyst of them watching the video, reading the post, and being like, I have to know who this person is, and I potentially want to watch or read more content like this. So I would say this is a huge signal, and one that I'm pretty excited about to see in the analytics. The more profile, because it's about numbers, the more profile viewers from a post you get to your profile, then the more people that you just by averages and numbers can get to your landing page or to your DMs or whatever. If 1,000 times more people visited your profile, it's just numbers at that point that you would have more inbound clients, like inbound leads that you could close. So this is very important. You don't just want views, you want people actually going to your profile. And so that's going to be an updated analytic. You'll find these insights under profile activity when you click view analytics on any recent post. If you don't have access yet, keep checking back. So these are going to be rolled out. So if you don't see it yet, don't panic. LinkedIn just announced all of this today, and so it will be being rolled out. Some of the most valuable advice doesn't come from a playbook, it comes from experience. I would say the most valuable advice comes from experience, the lessons you've lived, the challenges you've worked through, and the insights you've gained, and all add up to something others can learn from. I would say that this is even more critical during this age because there's going to be so much more content produced with AI. There already is, but a lot of the content is superficial. It's also 10 times more critical because if I'm inside of ChatGPT and I ask for references, or I ask ChatGPT, hey, what's the best expert that can teach me XYZ? If you don't include those experiences, that contextual understanding, if you don't talk about the things that you've done, if you don't share your stories, then the agent or the AI doesn't really understand that you're the expert that you truly are. If you're just sharing superficial tips, it's going to compare your information compared to somebody who's going in deep, sharing their story, sharing, I did this many webinars, here's the 25 lessons I learned, and those lessons really not being copy and paste lessons everywhere else. That's how AI and AI agents are going to understand expertise. And then that person is going to be more likely to be, presented as one of those experts compared to someone that just posts superficial tips. So just understand that if you choose, and it's a choice, if you choose not to share your experiences, if you choose not to contextualize like a lot of these stories and start to get really specific in your content, then you are choosing to make it harder for AI and humans to identify that you're really the expert that you say you are. And remember, when I asked ChatGPT for, hey, who are some experts that can teach me XYZ? It's not Google. It's not going to show me 55 pages of experts. It's going to tell me maybe 3 to 5 names. And so by not doing that, you are choosing to not be presented as those 3 to 5 names and putting yourself at a massive disadvantage when it comes to business in the future. So just think about these things. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching for LinkedIn growth, LinkedIn personal branding, message me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to potentially call you and then see if I'm a good fit to work with you, see what your goals are. And other than that, just make sure that you're listening to what the platform is telling you to post more of. And God bless you. Ciao.